Joining the conversation right now is a good friend of the program. He lives part of the year in Venice, part of the year in New Orleans. He's an artist. He's a musician. He's also a YouTube star. Our friend Tony Green is with us here on the Ringside Hotline. Mr. Tony, Happy New Year to you.
Hi, Jeff. Happy New Year to you from beautiful downtown French Quarter in New Orleans.
Yes, indeed. Tony, you're getting ready to go back to Venice. And, of course, how was your Christmas trip?
Oh, it was lovely. I spent a lot of time here in New Orleans seeing friends. I did a couple of gigs because I'm also a jazz musician, gypsy jazz. And also, I've been away about a year, and so it gives me a chance to look at things in an objective point of view, having been away from New Orleans, and then coming back and seeing the changes that a lot of people who live here on a day-to-day basis probably aren't aware of. But when you stay away and you come back in, it's like, wow, how did that happen? Or, my goodness, look at, incredible. And living here in the French Quarter, which is beautiful, but unfortunately the French Quarter is going the same way as Venice, Italy is.
Tell us why. What does that mean, Tony? Because Venice is sort of being overrun by tourism, right?
Well, the same thing here. I call it weaponized mass tourism, and the key word there is weaponized, okay? And I made a little video about it on YouTube, and people are welcome to go look at it, Tony Green, on mass tourism in Venice. And what is happening is that the way they're doing it is by diluting culture, by tearing down statues, by dumbing people down through social engineering via the television, via cinema, via the education system, via Hollywood, to create what I call the totalitarian tiptoe. It's happening in Venice, and I come back here in New Orleans, I see the exact same thing happening here, but it's not a surprise because I know LaToya Cantrell, Mitch Landrieu, their backgrounds, who they're connected with, and what their agenda is for the city and for the country.
Mm-hmm. Tony Green with us, Jeff Crouere here. It's Ringside on WGSO, 990 AM, WGSO.com. Hey, Tony, we're going to take a quick break first, and then we'll come back. And a lot more we want to get into with you, my friend. Thanks so much for being with us here on the program on WGSO 990 AM and, of course, WGSO.com. Hey, Tony, let me ask you this. You're someone that does these YouTube videos, and a lot of times you do it on sort of the political, situation and talk about sort of the power behind the scenes. And, we see a lot of real questions about what is really going on, not just here in this country, but in Europe. And, President Trump has sort of been taking on some of these forces, and I want to get your thoughts on what is happening here and how it relates to, what you see going on in Europe.
Gladly. You want me to wait for the break, or do you want me to tell you now?
No, let's do it now. Okay. And then we'll get to the break.
All right. Well, this is 2020, which is an incredible year. It's going to be an incredible year for humanity, I believe, because we're going to have what's called 2020 vision. That means to see things clearly, because the dark side is unveiling itself like never before. And, Trump, I voted for Trump, but I'm not a political person. I'm not left-wing. I'm not right-wing. I'm more of a common sense kind of guy. And I've been doing a lot of peeling of the onion, you might say, and I've been going down the rabbit hole of information to the point that I've almost met the rabbit, okay? And when you get to that level of information, you start to see things in a completely different manner, and I understand the mechanisms behind the social engineering and where they want to take us to. Now, as far as Donald Trump goes, on one level, I can really appreciate what he's trying to do, but stepping back from it all, there's something that just doesn't pass the smell test, and that is the ridiculous Democratic Party, the left wing of it, that it is so out of the box that I feel like I'm being set up. It's almost like a cartoon, and that it's just manipulating people to you have no choice but to vote for Donald Trump, because you look at these people, they're outrageous.
They're crazy, aren't they?
Crazy.
I mean, they're crazy.
And it just can't be. I can't really believe that that's an organic thing that's happening. and this is, I'll throw this out, and, but it seems like, maybe 30-odd years ago, Donald Trump was in financial trouble, and he was facing bankruptcy. And there was a family called the Rothschilds who could see the potential of the Donald J. Trump and bailed him out. But with that, he had to pay back. And next thing you know, he's got a wonderful television program called The Apprentice. I believe it was on air for 14 years. He honed his acting skills, a very intelligent man, has all the connections. And somehow, a guy who has never been in any political position whatsoever becomes President of the United States in a landslide victory. Now, I was the first one to jump on the bandwagon and say, yay, yay, okay, drain the swamp, yay, give us the true story behind 9/11, yay, uncover the deep state, yay, humanity on the rise, yay, yay, and it's all great, but how many people have been arrested so far? I don't know. And what about 5G and the upcoming 6G and the weaponized artificial intelligence? I mean, and then the breach of our freedom of speech and how they're going to manipulate the next election coming up. And I don't know, Jeff, what do you think?
I think that we've been very disappointed in that these investigations haven't amounted to anything. I mean, involving Hillary Clinton, involving Comey, all these different people from the deep state that set him up with this Russia coup and this ridiculous Ukrainian hoax. I thought we were going to turn the tables on these people, but I've just found that the deep state is entrenched, and they've got a lot of power in all these different departmts. And they're not going to allow any of these people to be prosecuted. I talked to a guest earlier, Tony, who thinks that all these guys are going to get it, that all of these people that have been doing this to Trump, they're going to face justice. And I can't say that I buy into it. I really don't.
No.
I don't think it's going to happen. What about you?
Well, I'm a bit of a skeptic in this department because, again, looking at things stepping way, way back in, 2020 vision, shall we say. Again, Trump is, he's very charismatic. He's the only president since I've been alive that I actually like to listen to his, rallies and what he has to say. Extremely entertaining.
Right.
But with that said, I'm going to go off and say some crazy stuff, okay?
Go ahead.
There's more to life than what you're looking at right now. There are other dimensions out there. There are other entities. And this is part of the 2020 wake-up of this year, that we're going to realize that, who we are not. Like me personally, my name, my religion, my nationality, my race, my personal history. I mean, my whole life I was told, this is possible, that's impossible. These are the good guys, those are the bad guys. And then 20 years of education, which was memorize, repeat, memorize, repeat. And then, I didn't have any opinions that were my own, but now I'm starting to understand that 2 and 2 does not equal 5, as I've been told my whole life, that I did my own addition, and I keep coming up with 4. And a lot of other people are starting to do that. They're adding things up for themselves, and they're coming to their own conclusions. And this is very important, because it's very dangerous to go along to get along, because that's part of the totalitarian tiptoe that is in its end game now. And that's why it's so exciting that we are alive now, because all of our ancestors who suffered and died to make sure the next generation could have the great life that they had brings us to 2020 now. And we are the chosen ones to face this weaponized artificial intelligence, which if we take it as a judo move, turn it around, and use it to propel us to other solar systems, to other galaxies, because we are the true
all right, Mr. Tony, I'd love to bring on. You really are getting out there, my friend.
I'm getting out there, man. I'm sorry. Somebody's got to say it. I'm saying it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then we're seeing all these UFOs. Have you noticed that the UFO observations over the past year has exploded?
They've always been there. They've always been there.
Now the reports
to the Nazis during Germany, World War II. They through something called Operation Paperclip. The Vatican
Tony, now it's going mainstream, my friend. Now it's mainstream. A lot of people are talking about it. All right, hang on. We'll take some calls when we come back. Hey, come join us, folks. 504-556-9696 is our talk line. Our friend Tony Green with us, Jeff Crouere here. Our talk line, 504-556-9696. Tony, let's take some calls. Brian in Metairie is with us. Hey, Mr. Brian, good morning. Welcome.
Mr. Crouere, good morning. And quite some time ago, you had this guest on, and it was so interesting on his conversations about his stay in the city now, which is underwater. They've got terrible flooding going on. And then he comes back and he sees such a change in New Orleans, much less the entire United States. And it's just not New Orleans. There's two changes that if he wants to check up, he can verify this. The physicians have something they call HIPAA, and that's supposed to protect the patient doctors' personal records and things like that. It has really nothing to do with that. And also now more and more hospitals, and when the doctor is sitting before you, when he's behind or she's behind the computer, they also are recording the voice in the patient's room, in the examination room. Most people don't know that. And it's so terrible, the changes, because a lot of the changes are not really good. And if anyone's ever been to Venice, the population is hating the tourists more and more and more. And I hate to see New Orleans come to that because it's gotten so saturated.
May I comment on that, please?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Tony,
yes,
jump in here. Thank you, Brian. Brought up some great points.
Yes,
Tony?
Brian, you're right on target. You're right on target, man. But we can sit here like a bunch of old ladies and come a long dirty laundry list of what's wrong out there. But what we got to do, you got to ask questions, demand answers, and take action. If you see that happening, then you need to speak out about it. You need to get involved. You need to go down to your city council, or you need to start your own little group, or make films. We got to wake each other up. We can't just sit back and say, "Oh, isn't that a shame? Oh, isn't that terrible?" I mean, look. Unfortunately, I'm a big-time Saints fan, okay? I mean, I went to the very first Saints game back in '67, I think, at Tulane Stadium. I was a Boy Scout usher in the game and all that stuff.
Good for
you. And I've been into it. And I was totally into this game last week, as everybody else was, you know? And all the hype, you know, Super Bowl time, Drew Brees, blah, 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 blah. But in the end, as you know, it was a major disappointment. And I had to step back on that one and say, wait a minute, man. I'm putting all this energy into a professional sport, NFL, and if you find out what the NFL is all about, who started it, and then you start getting into the Freemasons and 33-degree Freemasons and all that good stuff. But the point I'm making, if we could fill up the dome with 70,000 angry, rabid citizens that are ready to take action against all the stuff we're talking about today, and they leave that stadium, and just like a Saints victory, instead of going to the French Quarter and getting totally blasted, we go right to City Hall, or we go right to the mayor's office, or we go right to, you know, our sheriff's office, whatever, and we start taking control of our city because they are dumbing us down and making us domestic creatures that just go along to get along. And you got to take that television and toss that sucker out. Get involved. FaceTime, not
Tony
Facebook.
Green. Tony Green with us, Jeff Crouere here. Our talk line 504-556-9696. Tony, let's welcome Gary, who's with us in Lakeview. Hey, Gary, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Tony? Yeah, I'd like to talk about being dumbed down to a point that we will accept basically anything. As we all know, just a day or so ago. Yeah. But what I'd like to say is there was a time when the police would come in, they had their blue shirts on, and they would take care of what's going on. Now we have fusion centers go off, we have texting going off because everyone needs to be under lockdown. We had 4 schools go under lockdown. We had a huge section of Lakeview being cordoned off, and then.
Well, I think it's
a
symptom of exactly what I was talking about, the rising of the police state, and the only reason it's happening is because we let it happen. You understand? So what are we going to do about it?
Well, I guess I need to go down and complain at the sheriff's department, at the city hall, the little neighborhood watch groups and all that. This is too much control and too much going on. I mean, do you understand just the school alone is a safe school where it's completely covered with fences? There's a man-trap door. Right when you walk in, the door closes, and then you have to walk to the other one that's locked. So you basically have to be, checked out before you get in the school.
Well, Gary, let me say something to the listening audience. Gary King, the guy on the other end of this phone right here, he is a guy that takes action. Okay, he's got so many podcasts out there, at his own radio program, and he ran for office. All right, and when he ran for office, he brought up all this stuff. I forgot who you ran against, man, but I mean, you just went up so many notches in my book because you got the guts to go out there and face these people straight on. So he's not a complacent guy that just goes along to get along. Bravo, Gary.
I can vouch for that too. I can vouch for that too. He's a man of action, and Gary, hats off to you.
Gary, you got
All right,
a program or anything that's running now that people can tune in to you? Wait, this is your job.
No, I really don't. I really don't. I really don't, because I have some stuff on 153 News, but I've just given up on people, man.
Don't do that, man. You can't do that.
Don't give up, Gary. Don't give up, Gary.
We need you. You're one of the guys. You're one of the generals out there, man.
Yeah.
All I know is I saw more chemtrails yesterday than I have in a lifetime, and nobody gives a flip, and they look at me like I'm nuts when I point it out.
Well, don't worry about that. You just plant the seed and trust in God. Plant the seed, trust in God.
Good advice. Hey, Gary, thank you for your call, my friend. Thank you for what you do. Tony, we're up against the clock. We had about 2 minutes left, and I wanted to give you time to conclude some of your comments, but you're going to be heading back to Venice.
Yeah, I go back on Sunday.
For the problems.
It was a great time here, and it's great to be in New Orleans. But, one thing that really shocked me was what's called the soy boy phenomena. The soy boy, what does that mean? Soy products they're just all in our foods now, and you go to your little Starbucks and all that, you get your little soy products, and go to your health food stuff. And what it does, it kills the testosterone in men. And I just seen more and more of these soft little snowflake guys, man, whether they're my waiter or they're, wherever they are. And it's like, they're killing the warrior spirit, And talking to Gary, who's a warrior, don't give up, y'all.
I know, but don't you see that a lot in the millennials? Don't you see that a lot in the younger generation?
Same thing in Italy. Same thing. And then
Really?
the dependency on the cell phone addiction, which is going to lead to the implantable microchip. But 20/20 vision, you got to wake up, got to see what's going on, step back. Watch some of my videos. I did one on the Star Spangled Banner. All right, we performed the Star Spangled Banner after 9/11 years ago in Italy, and then I put some visuals to it. I think you'll find that pretty interesting too. Anyway, look, I love you, man.
All right, my friend.
You do a great job. You're always out there trying to wake people up, and that's what it's all about.
Thank you, my friend. Keep up the good work, and have a safe trip back. We'll visit with you again soon. Tony Green with us. New Orleanian, now living the life in Venice, musician, artist, YouTube star, and someone who's got a lot to say on a lot of important issues, and we always love having him on.